What it do, guys? B. Kelly back again with another banger. Today's video is going to be about 5 amazing college football players that did not pan out in the NFL. The first player we'll be talking about today is Colin Klein. Colin Klein played for Kansas State's football team from 2009 to 2012. In 2012, he was third in Heisman voting, and he was their quarterback from 2010 to 2012. In his freshman year in 2009, he was actually a receiver before he transitioned to becoming a quarterback. He played all 12 games, but he didn't really get a lot of playing time. Colin Klein's first year at quarterback for the Kansas State Wildcats, he was the second-string quarterback that year. He only threw the ball 18 times, completing 11 of them, and he even had a touchdown. He did play 10 games, but he was mainly a Wildcat for them, as he rushed the ball 76 times with 432 yards and 6 touchdowns. Colin Klein would win the starting quarterback job at K-State in his junior season. He started all 13 games for them, going 10-3 his first year as a starting quarterback for the Wildcats. He'd complete 57% of his passes, throwing 1,918 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. But we have to talk about how deadly he was as a runner. He had 317 rushing attempts with 1,141 rushing yards with 27 touchdowns. In his senior season, he started 13 games for the Wildcats, and this was the year that he would be in third place for the Heisman Trophy. You know, the trophy that goes to the best college football player that season. In this year, he completed 65% of his passes, threw for 2,641 yards, threw 16 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, but he rushed for 920 yards and 23 touchdowns. Not to mention that K-State went 11-2 that year as well and made it to a New Year's Six Bowl. Even though Colin Klein may have finished third in Heisman voting in the 2012 college football season, the NFL scouts did not believe in his hype. He would go undrafted in the 2013 NFL Draft. He would be invited to Texas rookie minicamp, though, but he did not make it past that rookie minicamp. He would then sign with the Montreal Alouettes on a 2-year deal, but didn't make it past June in the same year he signed that contract. The next player we'll be talking about today is Jordan Lynch from Northern Illinois. Jordan Lynch was a backup for the Northern Illinois Huskies for 2 seasons, his freshman and sophomore year. He was a quarterback, but he did not play very much. He was mainly used as a Wildcat in those 2 seasons, where he did put up some pretty good rushing numbers. In Jordan's junior season, he would finally get to start for the Huskies, and he balled out. He completed 60% of his passes, throwing 3,138 yards with 25 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Not to mention, this guy could run as well. He ran for 1,815 yards with 19 touchdowns. Jordan Lynch balled out his senior year yet again, even though his numbers went down just a tad. He completed 63% of his passes, throwing for 2,892 yards with 24 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Not to mention, the dude was unstoppable in the run game. 1,920 yards with 23 touchdowns. Even though Jordan Lynch went 24-4 as a college football starter at Northern Illinois, he did not hear his name selected in the 2014 NFL Draft. He did get picked up by the Bears, and they tried to make him a running back. He was released August 29th, 2014, and he would eventually move on to the CFL. Jordan Lynch would play in the CFL for 2 seasons before he retired from football altogether. The next player I'm going to bring up in this video is one of the coldest college football players to ever play the game. He only lost 3 games during his whole college football career. In Kellen Moore's freshman season at Boise State, he played 13 games and he completed 69% of his passes, throwing for 3,486 yards with 25 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. You know what? He did even better his sophomore year while he played 14 games, went undefeated, completed 64% of his passes, threw 3,536 yards with 39 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Moore had an incredible junior season as well, completing 71% of his passes with 3,845 passing yards with 35 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. And he did very well his senior year as well, with 74 completion percentage, 3,800 passing yards, 43 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Although Moore had an amazing college football career, he went undrafted in the 2012 NFL Draft. Moore would play 3 seasons in the NFL, being a backup quarterback primarily. He only played 3 games during his whole career and lost 2 of them. And he only completed 59% of his passes, only throwing 779 yards with 4 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. The next player we're going to talk about was also goated during his college football career. This player is Colt Brennan, who played for Hawaii. Colt Brennan was a 3-year starter for the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. In his sophomore year, he completed 68% of his passes, throwing 4,301 yards with 35 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. And his junior year was definitely his best season, where he completed 73% of his passes, threw for 5,549 yards with 58 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. In Colt's senior season at Hawaii, he completed 70% of his passes, throwing for 4,343 yards with 38 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. And to top that off, he finished 3rd in Heisman voting. And he got drafted 6th round, 186th overall in the 2008 NFL Draft by the Washington Redskins. Even though Colt had an amazing preseason for the Washington Redskins in his rookie year, he was released, and he was never consistently on a team after that, always getting cut almost immediately after he signs a contract. The final player we'll be talking about today is Matt Leinart, the USC star. In his sophomore year at USC, he completed 63% of his passes, throwing 3,556 passing yards with 38 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. In his best season as a college football player at USC, even though he put up better stats as a sophomore, he won the Heisman in his junior year, while he completed 65% of his passes, threw 3,322 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, and to top that off, he won the national championship. In his final year at USC, he completed 66% of his passes with 3,815 yards and 28 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, but they lost in the national championship game to Texas. But he did get 3rd in Heisman voting and was the 10th overall pick in the 2006 NFL Draft by the Arizona Cardinals. Matt Leinart definitely did not live up to his hype in the NFL at all. He didn't really have a good career even when he was playing and he was healthy. He was 8-10 as a starting quarterback and completed 57% of his passes, throwing 4,065 yards with 15 touchdowns and 21 interceptions.